person named, rest in peace, Keith Williams, and he would put arms on top of it, and that's what made him so different. And some of those arms would come from, like just said, Janet or Paula, and then some of it would come from voguing, and then some of it would come from reminiscence of Soul Train and what New York thought whacking was.
So y'all saw all those elements in there. See, now that was a perspective on street jazz that comes from the house dance culture of New York. There are other perspectives. This is why this vessel doesn't care what people ask, and on this tour this vessel is seeing so many people asking questions and want so many videos of what street jazz is, because they only know street jazz as a choreography class, which is definitely not that. It actually started off freestyle, and then those people that couldn't freestyle started making choreography classes. With that being said, the people in the club who actually could do the dance could also choreograph as well, but that choreography wasn't easy. So the people that couldn't freestyle started to make just what they called choreography classes. And this vessel had to be one of the ones to start correcting that and saying, no, that's actually more street jazz. So with that being said,
my mother is...
Hold up. Story, what's up? Story, what's up? What's going on? I have to say this publicly. If that's the same story, that brother, when people think about footwork, when they say in house dance with me, no. The brother I always mention named Spanky, Rasheen Spanky Johnson, and Derek Story. Those two brothers, myself, and then later on Penelope and all that, that was like the fast footwork crew.
Okay.
Story is, that's my dude. That dude, footwork wise, y'all would not comprehend it. That's all this vessel is going to say. Okay. And that name of that fusion that he did, eventually it was coined street jazz. And it was interesting because when meeting him, since when he jumped in my face and started dancing, I answered back. I answered back in what I thought whacking was at the time, or that kind of movement. And it made him actually ask me to join his group, Keith Squared, with Keith Lewis on here.
Yes.
And Keith Lewis is a very gifted dancer and choreographer as well. I think the group lasted with me and it about a year, and it was Keith Lewis, Keith Williams, Spanky, amazing gifted dancer. Always gonna say that Eon and myself, Keith Lewis.
For a while, yes, was a manager of mine when I was doing a lot of TV shows in the mid and late 2000s. Yes, sir.
Keith is a monumental brother in dance history that people should definitely know.
Yes.
And so when we get up to that, then you have in that Keith lineage, we have Courtney French and all these other people, Kim Holmes and so on and so forth, Christine Walker. There's a lot of people out there, Reuben, Darryl Cromwell. And then you also had, there were so many different approaches to do what this is now being coined as street jazz. You have people who do it with more the African dances approach, which is Courtney French, or a Haitian approach with a little bit of the whacking arms, which is rest in peace Marjorie. And you also have Ron Paisley, so Natasha. There's quite a few people out there, but everybody had their own little groups of approaches. But what was the underlying thing was that club groove that was under there. That was to make the big difference, which is made it different from just doing the arms and all that. So when it kind of died down, the 90s, especially we're talking about going into the middle 90s, right before the House Dance Conference. So once the middle 90s came around, hip hop and house had made its stamp overseas, and it was really stamped in USA. And what was getting boring was seeing all the men teaching, and they couldn't translate a lot of movement to women. So those who were here and remember the house clubs back in the later 80s into the 90s, you had to dress up to get in the club. So this mind has still had to do a switch to see women not in heels or women not looking, stylish. So when the 90s came in, it was these women with sweatpants and looking like boys. And it was like, nah, we got to get that. Something's wrong here. And this is nothing wrong with sexuality, but this is something that a girl said to me. I'll never forget. She was like, this was either was in France or somewhere in Europe. But she said, I like the fact that you teach stuff for women. She said, because I was getting so bad dressing like a boy, I felt like I was going to turn to a lesbian. And I was like, okay. And then that's when it went harder, me teaching more for women and also pushing Marjorie to come back more. Because I was like, yeah, we definitely have to get these women feeling their physiology.
Right. Yeah.
So the first idea was, let's go find Keith Williams. That was the first idea on the brain. Let's go find Keith Williams. Now we're talking about the resurgence of whacking. Let me go find Keith Williams. And then Tyrone Prato already had met Tyrone because he was doing a TV pilot earlier in the 90s.
Okay.
And
Timestamp.
Already, yeah.
Timestamp. What year is this?
Talking about looking for Keith. This is talking somewhere around 98, 97.
Okay. Go ahead. And then
looking for Keith.
And then with Tyrone and the TV pilot that he was doing.
Tyrone TV pilot, I think, was early 90s. That was early 90s. Already knew Archie. Well, actually already seen Breed Emotion perform at the Tunnel, but already knew Archie just from the clubs called the Tunnel. And Bravo was a little later that we met. So already knew Archie, knew Tyrone. And of course, already knew Bravo. So there was two parts going on. It was find Keith first, and really was focusing on having women dance like women. Keith is very good at that. So I said, okay, let me find Keith, and then at the same time, let me see if I can get Archie and Tyrone and them to teach. Not knowing if they could teach or not, but the focus was Tyrone because we all know Tyrone from It's Still a Thrill and Jody Watley and so on and so forth. So their mind was like, Tyrone has to really know what this dance is about. Keith, unfortunately, everybody knows, rest in peace, Keith unfortunately was sick at that time. When finally finding Keith was sick. So the emphasis was on Tyrone. Tyrone was like, no, not doing it, not hearing it. Thank you. And see you later. Archie was very, I just do the clubs and that's it. And, that's all. And I don't know, nobody want to see me teach. Nobody want to. There was the vibe from him and Tyrone and even Bravo, which is kind of who want to see us teach. And Archie has said this before. So then an interesting thing happened. I'm now just showing mixes of the street jazz house version at Faisal's and different places. And Rhapsody James, who was always never really freestyling in the club, but she was around there. She knows Keith and all that, and she had followed stuff Keith was doing. And then we had a little exchange where at Broadway Dance Center, I had to correct her class that she's doing more street jazz, not hip hop. And then she changed her class name to street jazz, and she was doing a class to Cisco Stone song. I actually have the video. Check it out. Um, and inside the video, she does it. And the way she did it was more whatever she had choreographed, and then the way I did it, people saw it different. And so now the reason why this story is important because Keith represented the club version, the underground version. Rhapsody represents the studio commercial version. So the underground version I'm working on with Tyrone and all that and trying to work on get them. So now here, this is a surprise too. So the commercial people are now like, wait, Brian, what are you doing? You know, why are you looking so different from what everybody's doing? And then I just blurted out, well, that's partly a dance called whacking. Partly.
Right.
Partly.
So this is a little note. Yes, Rhapsody James is a great choreographer and always enjoyed her choreography. But this is so y'all don't start your little nonsense, little fake wars y'all always start. Dancers really do both. So let's say there's Kim Holmes who can do choreography, catch choreography, and freestyle. There's Brian that can do choreography, catch choreography, and can freestyle. And that's really supposed to be one dancer. We all know people in the choreography realm that focus more on choreography don't really freestyle. And just like there's a lot of people in the club that can freestyle, they can't really do choreography or catch choreography fine. But then there's people that can. So nobody try to run and go, whoa, thanks to Rhapsody now we have whacking. Nope. No, not even close. It is that realm that because of that class they had interest in it, but it was already there. Brian was already pushing forth dancing like that, finding Keith Williams, and we also have to remember we still have Courtney French and all of them were all out there. Once Brian found Keith Williams, the plan was to gather up Courtney French, Dow Cromwell. Y'all don't even know these names. Jaquan and Johnny, and there's quite a few people y'all don't know that had that heavy lineage of Keith in them, as well as can freestyle in the house clubs. See, the important part is to remember is that street jazz, what we coined street jazz later, it wasn't coined that in the clubs, and I mean, no one even tried to start a fake war on that. Things are seen first, created first, and invaded first, and then later comes a name. The importance about the name is that the name should be made by somebody or somebody's that was there. So, street jazz, Keith would go between different names: boogie, street jazz, fusion. He would go through different names at different times. The one that made the most sense is street jazz because fusion is an already used name even back then. Boogie, no, because boogie would refer to what New York was doing, as New York style of trying to, put together things, what we saw that Cali was doing with popping and all that. So then street jazz made sense. It was a new name. And actually the way Keith got down, there wasn't really a lot of popping or anything in it. And so that boogie really didn't make sense, right? Keith meant boogie as a kind of just fusing it up. And then fusion would have made sense, but that was already going on in a different way. So street jazz made sense. And why does it make sense? This vessel's not going to break this down right now. This vessel breaks it down heavily in the street jazz classes that this vessel teaches right now. So this is just to end any nonsense people can try. Of course, this vessel knows y'all. Y'all who on the choreography realm that can't freestyle, you're always going to try to start some nonsense. And then those who are in the clubs that can't do choreography, you're always going to start some nonsense. But this vessel just put it out in public. Both sides is lazy. And lazy because A real dancer does both choreography and freestyle, and can catch choreography. That is not a big deal. That's been in the dance lineage business for over a century. So it's older. This category or validation or this standard is older than the person talking. Period. In tap dance, jazz, ballet, African dances, Latin dances. This has been going on forever. Choreography and Indian dance, folklore dances, freestyle, and choreography makes one dancer. So we're not gonna go into a tangent on that. If y'all do decide to go on a tangent like that, don't forget y'all those columns: evil, confused, loving. But now that this vessel just broke it down, there will be more evil people who do that. So let's cut it out and y'all start practicing. And is it any slight to Rhapsody? No, not at all. This vessel believes, this is why Vessel says lazy. This vessel believes if people in the clubs really wanted to do choreography, they could work hard and do it. Just like those in the choreography realm, they really wanted to freestyle. They could work hard and go into the culture and do it. But because the fact they don't, when they start those fake wars, and they know people like Kim Holmes, Courtney French, Brian Green, and all around and can do both. Eric Negron, Daniel Polanco, and they know these people can do both sides. That's just so evil. It's evil, and it also tries to block people like us. There's enough money on this planet for all three: those who want to just freestyle, those who want to just do choreography, and those who can do both. To make a very clear statement, this vessel was not taking classes back then. This vessel was making a very strong statement that people are lazy on both sides. So, but the funny thing is, in the 90s, this vessel was working both sides intensely, doing music videos, doing stage shows with artists, doing people's choreography in stage shows and music videos, and then hopping on the plane to go to Japan or France or whatever as a freestyle dancer. So it's a little nonsense when the house dance conference started. This vessel would hear, "Oh, the Brian Green, the freestyler, the legend." Oh, no, the dancer. Not at all. Not just a freestyler. Never, never will be, and never does. Even in the street dance community, this vessel had World Soul Incorporated that had the strongest choreography in house dance as a true choreography, not mixing other elements. No. So again, a real dancer does both. Period. Well, this vessel is a dancer, loves choreography, loves to do choreography, loves to catch choreography, loves to freestyle in different dance styles as well as just freestyle. For those who don't know what that means, that's a whole nother video.
Pause, please, ladies and gentlemen. And that day became, ooh, can we learn it? 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 And now it was like, no, I don't really know the dance style fully. No. And saying this openly. After being bothered for a while, people would just, well, this shows what you know. I'm like, I'm only going to show y'all what I'm already doing, which is the club stuff from the house scene, stuff that Keith, myself already are doing. But this is not that stance style whacking. The first 2-3 years this vessel taught constantly kept saying, this is not whacking. This is not. This is probably the annoying part right now. I always said this is not whacking. And we will try to get Tyrone and them back. So when finally getting Tyrone and them back, people forgot Brian just jumped off the set. I could have made all this money that y'all kids is making doing whatever y'all doing, right? But jumped off the set once bringing Anna Lollipop Sanchez to the house dance conference. Because this is a monumental time, because when I brought her and I saw what punking was, I was like, oh, okay. I said, okay, this is a different thing going on here. So that's out, and said, okay, there's a lot missing. And Tyrone got his story, and then Anna's special because Anna grew up under Tinker and all them in the club. So it's kind of like I knew to do what most people would not do and just back up. Back up and now learn and make sure what I was showing is correct. If we're talking about what was correct was seeing that a lot of the roles and stuff came out of watching Bruce Lee's Nunchucks. That was correct on that. Was correct on the posing and having to have a character and all that in the posing. There were certain things that I didn't know, which I knew had to be talked about and learned, which was the footwork and the punking. So I left with an integrity. Like I actually taught what was correct after taking some privates with Anna and stuff. Found out I was correct. Here's the problem now. Not calling anybody out. Because Oz likes calling people out, not calling nobody out.
I'm being nice.
And I'm making sure. That's why I say I'm not calling nobody out. Y'all have to know how Oz can get. So I'm not going to do that. So, as no one could do Brian's class, and that's just a famous statement around the board. And there were a lot of people in those first 2 years of classes. The pause is for me to shut up, because just Brian want to do what Brian normally does, but Brian's going to shut up because Brian is definitely in this kind of just place now where it's like Brian don't care really on calling nobody out. So taking a little more pause for that. Okay, there we go. So with that being said, one more pause. Yes, cough it out, Brian. So, that being said, this is what kills me about people. So y'all, I don't see a lot of y'all jumping up and fighting your kindergarten teacher, your first grade teacher, your second grade teacher, your third grade teacher, your fourth grade teacher, your fifth grade teacher, your sixth grade teacher, your seventh grade teacher, your eighth grade teacher, because ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th college, because you want that degree and that diploma to move on. So why in dance do y'all do that? Why in dance do y'all do that? If y'all can't pass a certain teacher's or certain teacher's level, how do you go and teach? Let's rewind. Because maybe say it for again, maybe the person that's deaf in the back. Let's say it again. How do y'all go and teach what you don't know? How do y'all do that? It's amazing. Because
amazing.
It's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper. And a lot of y'all that are sitting here and go, well, Brian, why don't you just show all the videos? Everybody shows videos. When y'all start paying for what y'all are watching, this vessel almost puts on every 10 other videos. This vessel will say PayPal, Bryfoot71 at yahoo.com, Zelle, housefootwork@gmail.com. When y'all start paying and seeing that y'all are taking this information and y'all going to teach classes and y'all are getting paid for it, but y'all not treating this information as, you're not cherishing this information as much as y'all are cherishing just taking this information to make money, this vessel's not going to be rushing to put up any footage. No, because y'all are still paying more into politicians and scientists and all that oppress y'all more than y'all are paying into dance styles that uplift y'all, give y'all confidence, show y'all love, take you out of depression, take you out of suicide. That's sick in the head. No, there are people out here that will put these things and code them and, you know, copyright them and then go and sue y'all and all that for all that. Does this vessel say that's wrong? It doesn't say it's wrong. But this vessel is not trying to trust in courts made by colonization and slavery and go through that whole process and paying lawyers to check y'all and sue y'all and look at how many hits y'all are doing and what y'all are secretly taking off the internet of people's property, intellectual property. Do y'all really need all that? Because y'all don't realize if people have to do all that for y'all to realize y'all have to pay for something that y'all are taking of other people's creativity, that just shows y'all are actual slaves and y'all need to be civilized. Because we all know we're in colonization for centuries and we have to pay for things, pay for bills. So yeah, if y'all learning something from someone else's creativity and you're taking something from someone's creativity that's getting y'all paid in another country, state, or city, y'all opening classes from watching their freestyle, if something in y'all doesn't want to make y'all send money to them because y'all are getting money off of their creativity, that's slavery. And also that's evil. So then y'all are making, since we're getting closer to what y'all call Black History Month, that's y'all celebrate, this vessel doesn't celebrate that, then that's making it look like what white people said is true about non-whites. Y'all are not civilized. Y'all are not organized. Why? Because hands down, look, y'all, Black and Latinos, most of them are the ones that created these street dance styles, right? There was some whites, some not creating the street dance styles, but there. And then Asians, this vessel doesn't have much to say because look, y'all throwing up free tutorials. This vessel's not stupid. Y'all are taking all these classes from us and just throwing up free tutorials everywhere and then teaching everywhere. And y'all not throwing any money back. Y'all not. That's why this vessel created economic wisdom for dancers, to give y'all a chance to go, wait, we are culture vulturing. We are cultural appropriating. So let's throw this money back. This is the least we can do at this point. And some of y'all can say, who cares? But why don't y'all say that for taxes? Why? You don't say that because there's a military or law enforcement that'll throw y'all in jail, garnish your wages. But again, they only do confusion and destruction on y'all. These dance styles have uplifted y'all, showed beauty in y'all that y'all didn't see. And y'all want to put money into that? That's disgusting. That's very evil. Very evil. So y'all see those differences between just those little perspectives of street jazz and the little perspectives of punking, posing, whacking. There's a lot y'all not doing on either side, right? And so there's a highlights from the interview with King Oz and Brian. And then next up we have